Okay, this is one of my Delektable elk or caddises. It differs from Altross' original pattern in several ways. Like to use translucent stuff. Really like UV dubbings. This has got a cinnamon UV body, so it's called my Delektable Cinnamon elk or caddis. And the other variations that we've got here are an underwing with CDC, and I've got a really cool way to put that on. And what that does, it kind of gives you a salt and pepper effect when sunlight's pushed through the wing. So you see more of the colors that a real caddisfly, their wings have. They have speckled wings, and this gives the salt and pepper effect. And then of course we've got a hackle palmered through it, and then we've got nymph-sized silly legs, which, like I say, add movement into this fly. It keeps it floating upright, whereas when the fly wants to tip from one side to the other, the legs stop it. And so it's always symmetrical in the water, which I really like, especially if you're twitching it or skittering it. It just keeps that fly a lot of movement and keeps it symmetrical. We're going to go ahead and start with a size 14 dry fly hook. I like to tie these from 10 to 20. A lot of different sizes for a lot of different caddisfly hatches. And we'll go ahead and put that in the jaws of the vise. The thread for this is the brown Danville 6/0 thread. Love the color. And we're going to go ahead and cover the shank. You always want a good base to put all the rest of the materials over. The thread definitely creates that. And we're going to get just to the point of the hook there. And we're going to add some gold wire here. We got some extra small ultra wire. Love that for ribbing. Doesn't add a lot of weight, but adds a lot of strength. And we're going to go ahead and I've got a piece I've cut. And we'll go ahead and tie that in. And the other thing is I love saddle hackles. I used to know Henry Hoffman. I love his hackle company was bought by Tom Whiting, and now it's called Whiting's, but have the best hackles on the market. And love the way they turn. They always turn symmetrically. The stem's not too dense. And we've already selected a 14 here, and I've created a little place to tie it in. We'll go ahead and tie it in. And that goes on right after the gold wire. And once that's bound in, just leave it there. And we're going to create our tapered body from our UV cinnamon ice dub. Another Bob Borden's product I really like. Really like the UV stuff. Really creates a lot of sparkle, and I guess some of the scientific tests on UV materials have been fish of all species, freshwater and salt, can see it a lot better. I really like the different advancements in the fly tying materials. Just created a lot of new patterns for the fly tire and a lot of different combinations. And when I give fly tying demonstrations in clinics, I always like to encourage people to use their imagination when they tie flies and, you know, combine different technologies, different tires ideas, different materials, and come up with their own versions. What we're going to do here is I finally put the dubbing on, and that way I can taper a body, and I'm going to layer it. And like I say, we're going to create a space for our head. You don't want to forget about that. And this makes the fly real durable, and like I say, you can get the taper just the way you want it, like a little cigar taper. And we're good with that. Now there's two different ways you can palmer the hackle forward. You can use your hackle pliers, or what I like to, when I've got long saddle hackles, I just like to use my fingers. In this sense, I like to, you'll have this is the bright side of the hackle, and then you'll have the dull. I like the hackle facing forward with the bright, and it's just optional. Some people like it the other way around, but this is the way I like to tie these particular flies, with the bright side facing forward. And I'm just going to palmer this forward. Got a nice symmetrical pattern going with a little segmentation. Going to go ahead and bind that down, clip the excess. And then usually when I'm tying a lot of flies, I'll go ahead and prepare the stem for the next fly. Pull away a few barbules so I can tie it in again. That's what I like about the saddle hackles. You can tie an awful lot of flies with one hackle. Now I'm going to counter wrap this. I wrap the hackle clockwise, and I'm going to go counterclockwise, and I'm going to segment the wire to make the hackles bound proof, and then to add a little flash. I really like that. And then, like I said, with the wire, there's 3 wraps. I like to make several wraps of the wire so that it doesn't come apart. And if you just put it on and don't make a couple extra wraps, it'll tend to slip, and the wire will come out after you've caught a few fish. And this is the part of the fly where I'm going to have the underwing and try to create a salt and pepper effect. And this is a CDC feather, and it's just a natural color. And I love that bluish dun, that gray color. And what I like to do with these is I'll get a pretty big feather so I can tie it in multiple times. And when you see a caddis, they have wings that are splayed. And what I like about CDC, it's like other materials you can cut and tie in. I went ahead and I cut it, and I'm going to tie it in again. And if I wanted to, I could even tie it in again. But this particular feather had a lot of barbules on it, so I'm going to just, that's a pretty massive dose of CDC. And I'm just going to go ahead and bind it in. And what we're going to do is cut this CDC with the scissors. So I'm going to let it extend a little bit beyond the hook shank, and go ahead and cut it. Now I'm going to put an elk hair wing over the top of that. And what I like to do with my elk hair, you want to be able to select your elk hair. I like to use younger bull elk. And for a smaller fly, I like the elk to be a little thinner. And if you're tying a salmon fly in a size 4 or 6, of course you're going to want thicker hair. And you can comb the underbody fur out. There's quite a bit of that on all your animal hides. And I choose to pull them out with my fingers. It's not a big deal. And for stacking hairs, I like a good stacker. You shouldn't cut expense on your scissors or on your stacker. You know, good tools, they just produce better flies. And it's like selecting the material. Selecting the right elk hair, you know, produces better flies. I'm going to be able to stack a lot more elk hair here because it's finer. And the other trick that I like, of course, is I'm going back to the crazy glue. I'm going to put a drop on the top of the thread, keep it away from the eye of the hook. And when I tie this elk hair down, one of the problems of a spun head is always when you bind a lot of fur down, a lot of hair, what happens is it likes to twist. Well, by using the super glue, as soon as I put that hair down, it's glued in place and it ain't going anywhere and it won't twist. So consequently, I can use twice as much elk hair and I still get the same silhouette. So by using twice as much elk hair, the fly floats so much better. And then it's kind of bomb-proof because of the super glue. I'm going to bind that down pretty good. And you don't need a lot of tension there. I like to use repetitive wraps, and that's why we're using 6/0 thread. And then you can go ahead and clip that just above the eye and leave a little bit or more. Some people like to have a little bigger head going out over the hook, and this one I clipped it a little tighter, but let's grab a couple. This one's got a little bigger head, so that's something you can adjust to your taste. And the last ingredient, of course, is going to be some silly legs. I'm going to grab 2 of them in the nymph size in the brown color. And we went ahead and selected 2. And I like to keep them together because when you pick them up, they're ready to tie in. And you tie multiple flies with them attached like that. And we're going to go ahead and I like to leave them a little bit long. And I'm just going to tie 2 loose wraps. And I'm going to clip them a little bit longer than the wing. And by having the 2 loose wraps and no tension, I can go ahead and pull them in place exactly where I want them to be on each side of the hook like that. I get a perfect X shape, and now you can bind them in and make them more durable. And oh man, they're just looking perfect. There's the X pattern, which I like, and the last ingredient, of course, is going to be a little dubbing and a little super glue. And we're going to put a small amount. Even though it's a dry fly, the weight of the crazy glue isn't going to amount to much different than a head cement to the thread would be. Except you won't have to clear the glue out of the eye of the hook while you're in the stream trying to fish. And we're just going to cover the thread. Like I said, I don't like thread heads. And we're going to put a little bit of super glue right at the end, just on the end of the dubbing. And go ahead, and as soon as it comes in contact with the dubbing, it's done. And then we're going to go ahead and trim the legs. And you can make them long or shorter. Yeah, beauty is in the eye of the beholder there. But that's what I like. I like that type of color, that type of salt and pepper. When the light goes through it, it's like shining a flashlight on that bug. And really love that.